Welcome back to Black Terms Podcast. Thanks again to everyone for tapping in with us. I said this before, and I'll say it again in case y'all forgot. On Black Terms is brought to you by Tandem Ed, where we are living, learning, and leading alongside community. Tandem Ed is a consulting organization that exists as a healthy bridge between community and institutions. I'm Dr. Norel Edwards, Director of Communications and Creative Content at Tandem Ed, and I'm co-hosting today's episode with the illustrious Dr. Brian C.B. Barnes, founder and CEO of Tandem Ed, as well as Jason Rivers, our Managing Director of Services and National Director of Tandem Ed's signature program, Own Your Story. This is our 6th episode, and we'll be talking about community-centered organizing. We have a special guest today, Zeek, founder of Detroit's New Era organization, which has launched numerous community programs to support Black folks, feeding the hungry, providing water in Flint, and all kinds of other amazing work that we're going to get to hear from him. So let's begin. Tell us and our audience about the New Era world, how it got started, the tenets, and then we'll pivot back to Jason to really kick us off with the first question.
Peace and love, everybody. My name is Zeek. I'm the founder and president of New Era Detroit, as well as New Era Nation, New Era World, which is all partner up under the same umbrella. Our goal as an organization is just to make sure that we focus on the fundamentals in our communities. When we talk about rebuilding Black communities, a lot of people talk about the investing aspect of it, like buying real estate, buying property, buying land, starting Black businesses, all of these things are great keys. But the biggest part of rebuilding Black communities to us is making sure that we able to change the mindset, change how we move, develop a code, a culture, a true culture back into our community, to where, we have a defining reason on how we move. Like, we really need to have that type of understanding in our community. Like, who are we? We got thousands upon thousands of Black organizations in this country, but we still can't truly define what organization look like in Black communities. And that's really what our organization focus on. The mud roots, as we say, that's the concept that we develop here with our organizations, is the mud root concept. This concept really came from the idea of grassroots and just looking, over the years, what progress has really been made through, grassroots surface organizing. I feel like we just really need to dig deeper, figure out programs that's going to realistically work, consistently through our community. So, I know it's back to school time, and a lot of people just come out during back to school time, or passing out turkeys and Thanksgiving, or toys at Christmas. Like, we got a lot more work to do if we seriously looking to change the way that we move in our community, the way that we viewed in our community, the level of respect that we have for ourselves, and the way that the rest of the world respects us. All that starts from, the ground with us, man. So, we really focus, we call ourselves community organizational specialists. So we really are focusing in on the organizational aspect in Black communities worldwide.
Respect, bro. Man, it's it's phenomenal. Proud to call you brother, and to have the opportunity to see exactly what you're talking about, real time, and serve alongside of you, man, and the org. So, some of the things that I think about, number one, Detroit is like a second home. Pittsburgh is where I reside, but just shout out to you and the Detroit community for embracing us, and, just being the true narrative of who and what Detroit is, man. So, I keep I got my 313 cup, man. I got my hoodie on, man, to represent the home. But, something that I realized very fastly about you is like the accountability is real big with you. And the standard, man, like you live by a certain standard and you expect highly, but I also watch you serve in that same fashion. And I never watched you, ask of anybody else what you wouldn't ask of yourself. And so I just want to just give you a tremendous shout out for that. You know, we heard a lot of the credentials early on in the interview, and I think you credentialed the same way, brother. Like you Dr. Zeek in my eyes, like when it comes to
Appreciate that.
what it means to do this work that we're talking about, bro. So if you could talk a little bit about, I know that the org was founded on a specific day for a specific reason. Could you just talk a little bit about those beginning stages of you know, why you chose the day that you chose, and then a little bit about, I know that now not only, you know, doing the work in Detroit but across the country and the globe. So could you just talk a little bit about the other cities that are involved as well as countries?
Yeah, so you know, just kind of answer your first question about the foundation in which we started. Actually, we just a couple of weeks ago, we just celebrated our 7th year anniversary. August 17th, 2014 was the day that we officially started organizing with this organization. And when I first started, you know, never imagined that, you know, we would be where we are today, not even close. I was just a brother that was kind of fed up with everything that was going around, man. You know, we really got to look ourselves in the mirror, hold ourselves accountable for the things that transpire in our communities. And that's just point blank, period. We got far too many people out here complaining. Every time something happens, people want to run to the internet. I mean, our problems are real life, real time in our community. So, you know, I just wanted to do something. And when I first started this organization, like literally for the first couple of days, it was all men's organization. Because I mean, even now, to this day, I'm very hard on Black men in the way that we move and how we, you know, supposed to hold down our people and hold down our communities. I really think that starts with us. Once we start to set a proper example in our communities, you know, our women will follow, the kids will follow, and then, you know, others follow those same guidelines of respect that we develop. So, you know, I've always been hard on men in those regards. You know, I expect highly of us, you know, in our community. So it started with us just being, you know, all men's group, but that was shut down very quick, because as soon as we put out a flyer about organizing, guess who shows up? The women. You know, like, our sisters are the most resilient Black women. When I tell you Black women are the strongest group of people on the planet Earth, they are. And they're the most realist group of people on the planet Earth, because they're going to always stand up and fight for our children, our futures, and our communities. Always, always. They're going to find time. I don't care if they 5 or 6 kids, they working, they're going to find time to come out and figure out a way to, you know, help grow and develop our community. So the best decision that was ever made in this organization was letting, you know, the sisters come in and be a part of that. That literally lasted a couple of days. But, you know, when the women came in and got on board, things really started to pick up fast. Like, you know, really, really fast things happened for us, because we were kind of born in the Mike Brown era. So 2014, that's when everything, you know, was transpiring with Mike Brown. And also was a lot going on in the city of Detroit, particularly rapists. It was like a serial rapist going around. And I just remember, you know, the news coming on and being out and about and, you know, showing that, you know, women are being raped and abused, and, you know, looking around at the brothers and they just like not doing nothing. And I just didn't want to be a part of that. I feel like, you know, our lives, you know, we have far much more purpose than we allow ourselves, you know, to you know, have the capacity to understand. So, you know, for us, it was just, you know, we wanted to start and do something. So we started somewhere with that. When I first started on 8/17, I did not know at the time that was Marcus Garvey Day. But just so happened, you know, that was Marcus Garvey Day, man. And it just, everything aligned up. Everything about this organization is organic. You know, it's just a true organization that's real. And I love it. So when we got going, we first started, I guess you could say I was extra angry Black man, because it was like immediately I wanted to right every wrong as fast as I could possibly do it, you know, in the city of Detroit. So anybody to show any level of disrespect to our people, to our community, and particularly our women and kids, we went after them, and we went after them really, really hard. And, not the typical put a flyer out and everybody show up here for a protest. It wasn't nothing like that. We would just show up, we would take care of business, and we would demand. It's about demanding our respect, and demanding that we're treated right in our own community. So, we did a lot of that early on, a lot of shutdowns early on. And people start to look at us like just the group that just shut stuff down. And, once again, I'm looking from the outside. I had to put myself in a position to look from the outside in. And, is that all we about? You know what I mean? It's just like the same thing. You only see Black Lives Matter when something happened, with the police. I didn't want to be a reactionary organization to where you only see New Era Detroit when somebody pop up and do something wrong to our people in our communities. So I really start to study organizing and what that looks like, and studying our people and studying our communities, studying the way that we move, study, the things that are great about us, studying the things that aren't so great about us, and figuring out different programs that we can utilize on a day in and a day out basis to slowly, help better our mindset so that we can have a better foundation in the way that we move, the way that we value our communities, and things of that nature. So for us, that we start to our Hood to Hood program was our first program that we started, and it was an engagement. So that was like, what's missing? What's the number one thing that's missing from our people? We don't engage. We not. It used to be back in the day that you knew the whole block that you was staying on. Now it's like people barely know the neighbors, the person next door. And, we so disconnected. People don't speak when they go in the stores, they got their head down or they knee mugging. These are the things that people really look over when they talk about our communities and fixing our problems. And once again, goes back to mud roots, getting up under that surface, and really addressing those problems. So our engagement program, we have the #1 community resource and engagement program in the country with all of our chapters, and building, and within our first year, we went to Chicago to pay respects to Chairman Fred Hampton, December 4th, 2015. And, we just took everybody from Detroit to Chicago. It was about 100 of us out there, and, we hit O Block, and, we just did our thing, and people in Chicago said they never seen nothing like this. The gangs, we were right in the middle of a gang war with gangs on both sides. And, it was a neutral respect for the way that we moved and, our message of organization. So from there, they was like, well, we got to do the same thing in Chicago. And that's, really where the light bulb clicked in. Like, well, maybe we need to, start to expand our thoughts on, not just in Detroit, because every Black community is the same. I don't care where you at. We all go through the same exact issue. We all facing the same exact things. It just may look a little bit different depending on the region that you're in, but we all go through the same problems. So opposed to trying to just tackle something in Detroit, and maybe make a small dent in it, how can we figure out how to make a huge dent in it? And organizing, you're not gonna be able to get everybody on board. So if I can get, 50 people in this city, 50 people in this city, 50 people in that city, those numbers add up. So even now today, when we come together in all of our respective cities, we have strength in organization. So from Chicago came Atlanta, from Atlanta, we, came Cleveland, Birmingham, DMV area, Las Vegas, Cali, and Long Beach, Dallas. I know I'm not gonna be able to name all the chapters at this point. It's starting to kind of come to a boil, but that was just big for us to figure out a Black print in which we say. It took us 7 years to figure this out. 7 years of organizing to figure out who we are, you know what I mean? And exactly, what put everything we've done in the past into perspective so that it makes sense for everybody else. And now we finally completed our black book, our guide for community organization in Black communities. And we just moving along here.
So thank you so much for that. Can I just ask first, where can we get the book? Let us know.
So with the Black book, this is something that we, if we have events and things like that, to our funders and things, this is really kind of a sacred book for us at this point. Just for people, we just want people who's really looking to be a part of, the growth in Black communities, to have this. But, we'll definitely send y'all one. We already know what y'all on. So we'll make sure that y'all get one of these. But, this is for people that's looking to help and build with us. It's not really like the Barnes and Noble book that you pick up and read. I mean, it's super dope. Don't get me wrong, but this is a book of action. So we want people to understand, like, when you got this in your hand, is how can we partner up? How can we help? How can we do this together? So, that's the meaning behind this book. But Doc, I'll be sure to make sure that you get one, sister.
Yes, definitely. I want to pull up to the Dallas chapter. I just arrived in the DFW area. But what I also want to know is kind of like so with all of these, and it sounds like you got a lot of chapters, like kind of how does it work in terms of like the dynamic between the chapters? Like, is there like a big conference y'all have once a year or something like that? Like kind of like if you could kind of explain a little bit more about, like, I would love to know just like the dynamics. We're having so many, chapters. Do they all kind of work on their own, or they're all following this book? Like,
yeah. So with all of our cities, we follow the same print. All of our programs run the same way in all of our different cities. That's the whole point of organizing for us. We want to make sure that it looks the same, and that's is something that people can familiarize themselves with, as a part of the movement. So the things that we've developed here and across the country, the programs, our initiatives, actually, we have 16 different community programs and 2 national safety initiatives right now running in all of our chapters. And we pride ourselves on that. So the goal is to work year round. Once again, so it's in our way of thinking is, how can we get the most out of our people so that we can make it a lifestyle, right? We see that a lot of people are doing things like changing the way that they eat, right? A lot of people are going vegan. A lot of people are more health conscious. So they're doing things to make it a lifestyle so that they can, change the way that they maneuver. So that's the thought with how we run our organization. How can we make this a day-to-day lifestyle and building our communities and working in our communities? Because we've seen in the past, events are not working. The lectures are not working. The seminars are not working. We really need day-to-day action in our communities. And a program and a structure for consistency in our community. So that with that, that's how we kind of move with our programs. But I'm trying to think, what was the other question you asked?
I had really just wanted to know kind of like is there like a national convention y'all do?
Oh yeah. So yep. So we pride ourselves on being a family movement. So we always talk, and we have different groups. We chat every single day. That's part of the job, is checking in, making sure that all of our chapters, everybody is doing, the things that they're supposed to be doing, running the programs they're supposed to be running, getting the help that they need. This is another reason why it's so dope for our organizations. A lot of people out there that want to do something that don't know where to start. So, we really got everything lined up. If you got the heart and the want, for changing your communities, I don't care where you are. We're working out in Nigeria right now as well, looking to work out in the UK. COVID kind of put a bit of a little halt on our travels abroad, but everywhere in the world, we've built a Black print that this work can be adapted to, and we just stay connected. We have constant conference calls. Every single month we're in a different city. So all of our chapters converge on a different city every month. We just left Miami for our anniversary, where all of our chapters was down in Miami with our Miami chapter. This month or September, you know, we'll have everybody here in Detroit actually. So it'll be big on the 25th of September. It's going to be really, really big out here. So, you know, it's just keeping active, you know, and once again, I'm a student of life. So I study different movements. I study progress. I study what goes right, what goes wrong. And even when you look at a lot of organizations with different chapters, you know, it's the connection is off. They not, you know, connected in a way to where you're seeing the same movements and the same, you know, connection, you know, throughout. So our thing is, you know, we are only as strong as our weakest chapter, and we don't have none. So we don't have a weak chapter because we all utilize our weight to help each other. So it's a real dope system that we've been able to create. It's hard, you know, don't get me wrong, I tell people all the time, I don't care, you know, what your job is on the planet Earth. I don't care how many degrees you got, how many years of school, you know, you've been through. Is nothing harder than organizing Black people. It's something that you have to be patient. It's something that you have to have understanding about, and you have to understand this is a marathon, you know, and just trust the process. If you're doing right, you're moving right, you know, it's going to be bad days. It's going to be good days. But, you know, it's going to be times that people going to get on your nerves, and, you know, but you really have to stick to the script, man, and really be a student of our people. Because if you're a student of our people, you already know. So if you already know, you know, that's your best advantage. You know, so you know how to, you know, better handle situations as they come. I'm a work in progress. We still learning, we still growing. This is still the early stages for us. We say 7 years is still, you know, early stages. I tell people all the time, nobody cared about, you know, what Jeff Bezos was doing in his garage back in '94. They can care less. You know, it took him 20 years or so just to get where he is today. So, you know, we have to, you know, cherish the times, the building stages, and work together. And that's really what we do as an organization. We truly work together. We keep it, everybody is well versed on everybody with all of our chapters. So, you know, we make sure that, you know, we staying current with everything and we staying connected. That's very important for us.
Well, Brother Zeek, man, much appreciation to just engage with you today, this conversation. Appreciate all the work that you're doing, and much love to you also, brother, because you love the people. One thing you talked about is, you know, it's so many organizations doing, you know, so many things under the name of Black progress. You talked about, you know, all the different movements. When I think about the movements in the past, you know, one of the things I often say is that, you know, in studying and looking at different ones, you know, there's not one I would say that I was 100% exactly what I would do again. But there's always something I would be able to pull from and learn from. And even those that, you know, we or I might even disagree with, for the most part, it's even something to pull from those.
Absolutely.
Even just because if they had the real integrity and love for the people, even if they may have did it in a way that we don't agree with, you know, at least they tried something that we might not want to try again, right? So with you being a student of the movements of organizing, I'm interested to know which movements have resonated the most with you, which ones have you pulled from the most, and then even those that, you know, you may not agree with 100% or even 50%. What have you learned from those?
Well, you know, for starters, I completely agree with you. You know, I have a saying, man, is just try not to make old mistakes, right? So, you know, when we look at different movements, no matter how much I'm in love with the movement or how much I dislike the movement, the thing that I look at, you know a lot of people go to the highlights, the good stuff. I want to know where things went wrong. You know, I want to know you know, if you were moving this way, why you decided to move this way, and what happened, you know, because at the end of the day, no matter how great a lot of our movements were in the past, look where we are today. We still in a position, you know, we still lack true leadership in our culture. And we still are so divided, you know what I mean? Is this person believes this person believes that, you know, this ideology, you know, is what these, you know, group of people believe. This, we so divided in so many ways. Our thing is just trying to figure out a way to, it don't matter. Like, I got people in our organization, you know, who's Muslim, who, you know, who are Christian, who, you know, have different beliefs. You know, our thing is just to make sure that we able to organize on progress. You know, no matter what you believe in, organize on progress. And for us, you know, it's really important. One of my favorite movements, of course, is definitely the Black Panther movement from the past. I pull a lot from them, and just the energy in which they were able to galvanize and organize Black people, and how they make our people feel. You know what I mean? It's a feel thing, you know, to feel powerful, to feel prideful of yourself. You know, before them, you know, all of our people wanted to wear the relaxed hair, and you know, it was just a time to where we just wanted to be something that we weren't so bad. And this movement came in and made us prideful of who we are, to wear the afros, to be natural, you know, to be comfortable in our own skin and to feel good about that. But you know, the organization aspect from the Panthers, you know, how they were able to organize over the country, and the things that went right with them and the things that went wrong with them. You know, really studying those things, and even, you know, the civil rights movement, in which I'm not the biggest fan of, but you know, I have much love and respect for Dr. King and all of the people that was involved in that, because the sacrifice that was made, and especially when we talk about the bus boycott, which is still to this day one of the most organized, you know, collective things that we've ever done as a people. But once again, looking at what went right and what went wrong. But one of my favorite people of all time is, you know, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. You know, his spirit for organization and on the ground organization, and you know, the way that he moved in our communities, you know, the way that he used to hit doors, and you know, that just the whole SNCC movement, and the way that they were able to really be the driving force behind, you know, the civil rights movement, and you know, kind of the start of Black Power. So you know, just being able to say Black Power and be proud of it, not have it linked to white power or nothing like that, you know, and have a true understanding of what that is, and you know, have a true understanding, like, this world is about power. It's not about nothing else. It's about power, and us being able to tap into our power, you know, so that we aren't so controlled. And you know, that's the thing. Like, as long as Black people, you know, are in a position, I don't care how much money you got, they're gonna let us get all the money in the world, but as long as they can control us, right? So that's why you don't see all these billionaires, you know, doing a lot of the real stuff, because you know, they got the money, but you know, the power isn't there, you know, not the true power isn't there. So trying to empower our people, you know, working to empower our people, and grow in that power, and utilize it, you know, for good, you know, not to be on the egotistical stuff. You know, a lot of people, when they even hear power, it's like, you know, oh, I got this magical ball in my hand is gonna, you know, project something. But it's truly about us tapping into the energy in us, and knowing and understand that we don't just have to go or stand for just anything, that, you know, we have the power to, you know, dictate our future. And you know, as Jason, you know, would say, you know, tell our own story, own our own story. So you know, we have true power as people. It's just getting people to you know, getting to organize that power and activate that power. That's where we stand.
Phenomenal, bro. Hey, you know, you spoke about the you know, the bus, and I wanted to something that resonated strong is spending time with you in Detroit, man. Having an opportunity to participate in a couple of the community organizing, from hood to hood, over on Joy Road, and passing out, food to families. And then the Tangi ride, getting on the buses and observing and watching and being able to support that way. So much of it, the Buy Black tour. And when you just said 16 programs within the initiatives, number one, I feel like you have more hours in your day than I do. I need to figure out where you get these extra hours from, man. And but it's phenomenal, the work that's being done. And I wanted to just talk a little bit more about what initiative excites you most, and something that's really important is just legacy. So when I learned the why of Tangi Rides, that it meant something to me. So even like the legacy of one of the members, Tangela Harris. So it just just the opportunity, just the way that you all love, support, protect each other, and the way that her legacy was able to carry on. You could just talk a little bit about that. But it was just phenomenal. I was taken back not only by the organizing, but the way the city respects what y'all doing, from the bus drivers to the police. Like, everybody's respecting the way that you're serving, and it's just phenomenal for me to see those things. So could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. And I appreciate that, bro. I really do. So, everything that we do, with all of our programs that we've been able to create, they all have its own meaning behind them. But most importantly, they all have true power to be extremely effective in our community when ran consistently anywhere in the world. And that's the most important thing, is producing a product that's going to be effective and that people can do, and creating a system. So that's the thing, like, people are going to come and go, but systems, they stay and they last. So to be able to create a system in which, that's the idea behind all of our programs. So, whether Zeek is here or not, or, whether the key players are in position or not, all of our programs will constantly be able to be ran, because it's a print forum. And like you said, man, one of my favorite programs is definitely our Hood to Hood program. Just because I just love the engagement, aspect of it all. That's how we got our name in the community. It wasn't because we had 100,000 followers online or nothing like that. No, we was really, when we first started, and now still, like, we always out in the streets, we always out in the community, we touching hands, we building relationships. And that means everything to us, man, because, in a time where a lot of people are searching for real hope and real change, and, we hear so many people come up to us with so many stories, that we giving people a reason to believe that, in the coming years, that things will get better for us, because it could look bleak, when you turn on the TV and, you living in the hoods and the ghettos of America, and you seeing what's in front of you every single day, and the lack of support from, the politicians, the lack of protection from the police, that's a bad hand, man, to have, in this country, to not be a protected group of people, and, not to be a group of people in which resources, are fruitful to us as other groups of people. So, to put ourselves in a position to level up on those fronts is very important. One of our jewels right now is really our national initiatives too, with our Safe Zone, in which we partner up with different businesses all around the country, but in our respective cities, to create safe havens for, human trafficking and people that's being abducted in our communities, and just creating safe spaces so that people know that if you're in this area, these people are aware of the things that's going on in the community and are there to help out if need be. So I'm very proud of that, man. We got something that I can't really announce it right now, but we got something really big that we're working on that's going to tie into that as far as the app goes. So, we still in the development process of that, but it's going to really change the game when talking about community policing. We're really big on, it's about protecting. We're the most unprotected group of people in America. That's why a lot of people, when they get money, they want to move out the hood, right? Why do you want to move out the hood? It's not safe, right? The two reasons that people want to leave the hood when they become successful, one is because the hood is not safe, and two is because the hood lacks resources, and particularly education, for children. So they want their kids to go to a better, be in a better system where they're educated properly, and they want their families to be safe. So these are things that we really have to focus in on in our community. So we have, our programs that's allocated to those may get a bit more sunlight than some of our other programs, but we run them all the same. But these are focuses. We want people to stay in our hoods, because one thing is for sure: when we leave, we know who coming in. You know what I mean? Why is it that all of the different nationalities can look at the hood and say, well, shoot, I'll move there, I'll come there, I'll develop, I'll spend money to make over the hood. And it's gentrification. That's what it is. Like, we can sit and cry about that all we want, but if we giving people the passes to gentrify our own communities, it's our fault. That's why we're big on accountability. We're accountability organization. So we got to hold ourselves accountable for making our communities better. When you look around at us, especially Detroit, we're one of the blackest cities in America, one of the last truly black cities in America. When I say black cities, you can go from the east side of Detroit to the west side of Detroit to southwest Detroit to the north end, and you're going to see nothing but our people. Very high percentage. There's nowhere in America. I do a lot of traveling. And you go into cities, it's like pockets of black people, and then you moving to somewhere else. You see these black folks everywhere in Detroit for miles and miles and miles. And I see that with if we weren't doing what we're doing, and if we take our foot off the gas, Detroit is going to completely reverse itself. It's already starting from a police perspective. Nobody's looking to be police. We don't have black police officers running to do police work because they turned off by it. So how do we figure out different ways to up the safety in our communities? So that's very important to us. Safety in our communities, and just making sure that we hold ourselves accountable. For the value that we have in our communities. Like our communities is a gold mine. Jeezy say the hood is a gold mine. I believe that wholeheartedly. Right. Because people wouldn't be trying to dig in our business, all over the country if it wasn't. You think these people with all this money gonna come to the hood if it wasn't, and invest in communities, in our communities if it wasn't. So, we just have to have that understanding and be able to see past what's in front of us. That's another one of our issues. We can't see it until it's already built. We have to be able to look at our communities and say, this is what I can see it being in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, because projections are everything. That's how the rest of the world looks. They look and they project, the future, and then they invest to that. We can't just look at what's happening now. We have to be able to be, projectors of the future. So, that's kind of where we stand with that.
We talked a lot about accountability. The word has come up, a lot in this conversation. I'm thinking about New Era's 5 levels of accountability, and particularly the political accountability and the political education that you all provide, to the members and in the community. So, at Tandem Med, one of our foci is around ensuring that the institutions, including the political system or government, is responsive to the leadership that comes from the youth, the families, and the residents. And there's a tension for me in that work. So on the one hand, I feel it's absolutely necessary that we deal with the reality that there is a predominant governing body over this land that we live. And so to ignore it would be foolishness, right? at the same time, I struggle. It also feels like a validation that of a system that, arguably is fundamentally at its core built off of the oppression of our people, right? It differentiated from, we have a token few Black middle class folks where, the narrative gets thrown off like, perhaps it is working, but we know for the masses of us, it's not. Do you ever wrestle with this tension in your work, around a political accountability education? And where do you land on your thinking in that approach?
Man, absolutely. I used to be one of those people, man. Before I really, even in the early stages of organizing, I was one of the people like, oh, that's the white man system. We're not trying to do this. And, we're not going to be involved. Our votes don't matter. We need to focus on us, this, that, and the third. And then, when you organize, organization is a beautiful thing, because when you organization is like a puzzle, right? So it's like you're putting this big puzzle together and you're looking for different pieces to create the overall picture, right? So when you building these puzzles and then you looking around like, okay, we checking this off. These are the things that we need to better our communities, our people, yada, yada, blase. And you look around and you say, well, particularly here, I'm big on local elections. Like local elections, there's so much power in that, especially in predominantly Black cities. Resources, like all the resources that come in our cities, these cities have billion-dollar budgets, that these funds don't come to us. They go into these groups, they go in these organizations, they go in politicians' pockets. And we really don't care. You know what I mean? We don't know. We don't care who's running, what. Like right now, Detroit has been flooding tremendously, just off of 25, 30 minutes of rain, we've been flooding. So now everybody's like, well, what's going on? Who's in charge of this and that and the third. If we were tapped in, we would have an understanding of who was in charge of this and that. And, we would have an understanding of, where some of those funds probably was going, because every year a city get budgets for infrastructure. If we don't care about these type of things, then how are we supposed to put ourselves in a position to truly win? You look at Detroit, one of the Black cities in America. Right now, we have a mayor from Livonia, Michigan, a white mayor from Livonia, Michigan, which is one of the per capita, one of the whitest cities in America, leading one of the Black cities in America. And, a lot of people look at it and say, well, is it like, can a white man lead a Black? No, to me, you know what I mean? It's absolutely not. What do you mean? What do you know about, what our Black babies go through, the future of our children? What do you know about, our culture, the things that we like, the things that we want to see in our communities? And, we don't have people to represent us, from the top. We don't have Black community. We can't truly build strong Black communities without being involved in the political process. And, once I understood that, it took me a while to understand that, but once I understood it, that's when we doubled down on our political education classes, man. They're very extremely informative classes, to where people, if you're not involved in politics, you don't like politics, whatever, is taught in a way that, anybody can comprehend this type of understanding. And, we got to have an understanding of the budgets, where the money going, why we have a land bank here in Detroit that's holding up just about all of the vacant properties in the city, right? We want to buy land, we want the houses, but the administration, they put these things into place, to help gentrify us. And that we if we give them the upper hand, if we just say we're not going to be involved in politics, we look at Congress, it's all old white folks. You know what I mean? These people are running the country, and there's no way that we can get around that. You could say that we don't want to be involved in their system, this, that, and the third. That may help you as an individual. If you get money and you a successful person, that may help you, but it's not about a single person. It's about the hoods and the ghettos of America, and why aren't resources reaching our communities, and who's in charge of the leadership in these Black communities? And why is it the same thing when you talk about crime and violence in every Black city? Why can't we solve simple problems, in our own communities? Because we don't have representative, because we don't have an understanding of these things. So just to be politically ignorant is, once we understand, like, that's always been the plan, to keep us politically ignorant so that they can that's a lot of power is in politics, big power. We talk power, like, my thing is always power. Like, I don't care about, the popular. I don't care about who's popular. I don't care about none of that. I just, for us, we need to be concerned with power and being able to put ourselves in a position of power so that we can, educate ourselves and put ourselves in a position of where we can level up and have better, safer environments. And when I talk about communities, I'm always talking about the hoods, man. Like, that's my focus. I'm not talking about the bourgeoisie, nice places where, some of the Black folks is living together, in harmony. I'm talking about the struggle that still exists, in Black communities, and have always existed in our communities, no matter how much the world is elevating. They got cars driving themselves, they got jetpacks flying around, but it's still babies in the hood that's not eating and walking around with when we was just in Richmond, I took my shoes off my feet to give to a boy who had shoes on and his toes was out of his shoes. So it's just like we got real life problems, that affect us. And a lot of these things from we not being educated on politics, because, if the resources was making it to our communities like it makes to everybody else's communities, it would give us an upper hand and an advantage because it's there for us. You feel me? Like, it's money there for our communities. We just have to be educated on that and put right people in position, to represent us in the correct way. So, for us, it's about breeding new politicians, new young Black politicians, to have an understanding of how this thing works and how they're supposed to go in and better our communities. It's a part of the puzzle. You can't sit and say that you want to see our people to the, on a higher plane, and you want to see change in our communities. And, politics is not an equation. It's just completely impossible, to build stronger Black communities, without being a player in politics. And anybody who tell you anything different, look at them, and they may be successful as an individual. It's particularly like a lot of the conscious Black folks online, that's getting money off of Black people, pimping Black people, telling them to buy their book or buy this, that, and the third, who's telling people don't get involved in politics, typically not living in the hoods or out of touch with what's going on in Black communities. But if you spend any time in Black communities, you would know that there's a resource problem in our communities, and it's a lack of representation and leadership. So, we have to change that from the ground up.
Ooh, you definitely said a word, but related to that, let me ask, in terms of sort of like your political curriculum that you're building and supporting, sort of like building new Black leaders from the communities. So are there people that you have been supporting already for like a city council or the mayor, or people you really are already sort of like pushing, or is it more just sort of like a curriculum for sort of like younger youth or something like that? So are you specifically like supporting candidates at that political level with New Era?
Absolutely. So it's both, right? We are always looking to breed and inform a new group of politicians, and there are politicians in the city of Detroit. And once again, I have to be very clear when I talk about politics, because it may go over a lot of people's head and the understanding of in Black communities. So when you go down the list and you look at cities like Detroit, Flint, Baltimore, I can go on and on, man, about, with cities that are predominantly Black. We should be controlling the resources in those cities. We should have a representation that looks like us, representation, that has an understanding of our environment, of our community, that's from our environment, from our community, so that they can better assist us in moving forward. Making sure that the resources get to us in the proper form, and making sure that, we not get messed over all type of ways, because it's the easiest way you know, for Black communities to get, you know, messed over is through politics, man. They making all the decisions. They are the ones that's sitting in the office with the developers. So when, you know, we got all this money. That's why it was a point in time, even when Dr. Claude Anderson was coming to Detroit and he wanted to build an African town. And he had to sit up there with politicians. Some of them were Black, and I'm not saying that all of our people are our people, because there were people, it's still Black people in Detroit, you know, today that's you know, on the opposite side of the aisle or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, I try to tell people it's not about Democrat, it's not about Republican, it's about being a free thinker and understanding the bird in both wings and understanding that we need to put ourselves in a position, because I don't care what election is, they're going to always have to come to Black people, even on a national level. You know, it took Black people to get Joe Biden in. And, you know, we got him in for nothing. I don't even want to talk. We can't even talk about national politics if we're not talking about local politics. I don't even want to hear people talking about voting. People go out and talk about voting for Joe Biden, but won't show up at the polls. We just had a primaries in Detroit, and 90% of the city stayed home. They didn't vote. They didn't come out. So guess what's going to happen? The same regime is going to continue to stay in office, and they're going to continue to push, you know, for, you know, big businesses and big companies and big corporations, you know, opposed to looking and figuring out like how we take the strength and all of this land and resources that we have here in the city of Detroit and make it work for the people in the future, you know, of our city and our residents, which is predominantly Black. So yeah, for us, it's about, you know, weeding people out. You know what I mean? It's once again, it goes back to accountability. You know, we have to be able to hold people accountable. And what does that look like? You know, if you don't have a system, if you don't have any demands, if you don't have a wants, you don't have any of these things, how can you hold people accountable? So for us, is being able to create a system, you know, understanding exactly what's needed in our communities, lay that on the table, and build from there. So it's just extremely important that our people really wake up when it comes to politics on a local level, and predominantly Black cities especially. So, you know, we big on that. You know, there's no reason in the world that Detroit should be in the position that it's in right now, where they done gave away all of our resources. We got the best fresh water here. What happens? You know, they sold that off because we didn't have people in position to understand, like, keep the water, you know, make sure that we keeping our natural resources, our park, Belle Isle, they sold it off. So it's just like, if we don't understand the plays that's going on, that's gonna, you know, not serve us best, you know, for the growth and development of our communities and you know, our leverage is like, you know, we can't, how we talk big boy investor talk, and we letting all of our investments, our prize investments that surround us, you know, just get sold off. If that was if we talking assets and things of that nature. So you just got to pay attention. There's a lot that goes on in the political world. So I would just, you know, hope to, you know, just spark interest in people to just do a bit more in educating themselves on their local politics, and organizing around that too as well. You know, as you organize anything else.
That's real. With all this work, man, it doesn't come free. So just bread, man. Where does the org get bread, resources, and you know, I know there's a lot of people moving across the country. So just how are there resources to do the activities that you're doing? And then the follow up for that to me is the student of our communities that you've been. What's the thing that like stands out the most to you about who we are on the asset side, that we don't give ourselves credit for, you know, that goes against the other narrative about us as you've moved across the country and now even the globe. So just how the resources come in, and what really touches you as you move throughout the cities that binds us and connects us.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as resources, man, over the past 2 years, so I've been organized for 7 years. Over the past 2 years, we just started to get people to really understand who we do, or not be afraid to mess with us to the point to where they would, want to donate some money, some real money to help us, kind of get things moving, man. But for the first 5 years, man, we really got no resources, no money from anybody. I tell people we built this on a zero budget. So when we go out and do our Tangies right, guess how we made that happen? We anteed up. You feel me? We'll put a post out. People will donate on Cash App, $5 here, $20 there. And that's how we've been organizing, man. We've been making it happen. It took us so long to even get in the conversation of nonprofit. Only because, I when I first started, I looked down at nonprofits because I was in the mindset of, this is something that it has a level of control. Like, I didn't want to be controlled in a way, and I felt like a lot of people, before they can go out and pick up a piece of paper, they need to start a nonprofit to find change, to do something that's going to change our community. I just want to be different than that. And then, like I said, man, we've been doing a lot of rebranding, still staying true to who we are, but man, people wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole for a minute, man. I mean, we going in, shutting down churches, we shutting down, all type of stuff, man. We catching cases, for our people with the police. So, as in the business world, that was, I guess, messing the money up with people with those big funding wasn't running over to us. Now people see the way that we moving. Once again, it goes back to power, seeing the power that we're being built, understanding that when we do our hood to hoods, we have the best door game in the country. So if you want to get something to somebody's door, there's no better way to do it than to figure out a way to partner up with us. We strengthen our program. We put ourselves in a position of power now, as we move into a nonprofit sector, because once again, it goes back to me waking up to politics and looking at the puzzle, saying it's pieces that we got to figure out. We have to get involved in that, man. There's no way that I'm going to be able to sit back and I have a food program in which we've been able to feed over 200,000 people nationwide, over 100,000 people in the city of Detroit without a budget, so we've been able to do this without a budget. And I'm looking at these companies and these organizations that don't do half of the work that we do, and they getting $50,000 here, $100,000 there, $200,000, $500,000 for doing the work that we do actually in our community. So, that's the plan, man. Funding is very big for us in the next 3 years because we've been able to create this thing. Now it's being able to help all of our chapters be able to run these programs effectively and efficiently. So, for us, so far it's just been getting it out the mud, man. I've been able to develop relationships with a lot of good people. And over the past couple of years, Jason, you being one of them, and I appreciate y'all, for looking our way. Those things matter to us, man, because starting this and doing it with nothing, it's been, we working on a documentary going into our 10th year, man. And people really understood the struggle that it took. I mean, from, me and mine's going without, water and lights. And it's been a struggle, man, to maintain this thing. Even when catching a case in Chicago, having to sell off, some of our assets, houses and things of that nature, just to support a case with 7 people. Felonies, seven felonies, 7 attorneys. This, it was a lot, man, that we've been through with this organization. So just, putting ourselves in a position to, once again, put ourselves in a position to be able to generate that type of power and energy so that people can understand, like, we have a developed process here. And when people see this stuff, actually see the work in hand, it's a different thing than just saying, yeah, they do a lot of good stuff in the community, because that was a thing for us for so long. It's like, I don't really know what y'all do. I just know y'all do some good work. You know what I mean? So now people can look at this and really know what we do and really get in depth with, some of our programs. And, for that last question, Jason, just being out in the community for me, man, it's just, I don't know where I would be without the traveling aspect of organizing. If we never decide, spread to other cities, I really don't know where I would be, because you get so much energy, it's so much love and so much light. You really get to look at, life in a different viewpoint when you go to hoods all across America. So it's just like when you go to certain cities, even when people talk about Miami and Las Vegas, and these are places that people go, they not going to the hood. They going to the beach in Miami. They going to the strip in Vegas, but being able to go to these different cities and tapping in with the true people of the community, the hoods and the ghettos, and seeing how people live and seeing how people embrace us. And especially the babies, everywhere that we go, they peeking out the doors, they coming out, they putting their fists in the air, like we making them feel a certain type of way. That's why I say, like, we relate a lot to the Black Panthers, because the feel of the movement. And we bring that type of feeling, that type of energy. It's just the way that we make people feel and the way that people make us feel. I feel like it's a even exchange. And I feel like that's really the gas for me, man. I always tell people, hood to hood, it's like I guess it would be the equivalent of a Christian going to the church, or, someone going to the mosque. It's that type of energy out in our community. So for me, it's the relationship, the give relationship of really high power energy, like I've never seen before, and a lot of people never witnessed.
Facts, man. Man, you say it all the time. One man, one woman, one child, one community, bro. And I've shared this with you on multiple occasions. Brian was referencing movements from the past, and we were talking about movements from the past. And it gives me chills to know that we're in the presence of one of the individuals that the future of our people will study, to learn about, to lift up. So, man, just respect to you, to following the energy of the ancestors and the way that you move, and everybody else in the org, all that you represent. So, man, it's dope that New Era will be, the future of what students will study to understand what Blackness look like, man. So just big ups, bro. Celebrate and love you, man.
Man, much respect, bro. I just can't even begin, when people say that type of stuff, man, I just, my wife told me I have to work on receiving compliments, because I still don't, I'm a very humble person, man. And, I truly, honestly, I do this because, it wasn't something that I set out to do. It was something that kind of chose me. And I feel like we all have those things that's going to choose us. It's either we're going to accept the challenge, or we're just going to continue to do, stay in the matrix. So we all got an opportunity to get pulled out the matrix. And, the Most High will present us with that opportunity. Is either are we going to take it, because it's going to be more than likely, it's going to be the hard route. It's going to be the unpopular route. But for me, accepting that challenge, man, and it has been a challenge. I'm not gonna sit up here like everything's been peaches and cream, man. We've been through a lot of stuff, man. I feel like the average person would have just been like, I'm straight, I'm go do something else, I'm flip these houses, I'm gonna be good. Worry about me and my family, the me and mine's complex that I talk about all the time, man. But for us, man, it really is about putting ourselves in a position to where in the next 20 to 30 years that no matter where you are and see our people, we'll have a different way that we move in our communities, and we'll start to see more of our people investing in our communities, and not just with our dollars, but with our energy, with the way that we view our own communities, man. And the way that we value our own community. So for me and our organization is it's just it's real life for us, man. It's a lifestyle for us. This is something that is from now until I'm no more, but this will be continued after I'm gone. I feel like the number one thing that a lot of organizations and a lot of leaders from the past, they dropped the ball on. They didn't create a system that would truly be able to be passed on in the next generation, or kept up, or innovative system, because you still have some of the older organizations that was around in the 50s and the 60s, but they just don't hit the mark on, the times that's changing. You can't just continue to utilize old tactics in a new growing world. So we always got to make sure that we stay innovative. Innovation is very big for us, that we stand current with the times, and that we stand as effective as possible, and looking at the projected 10, 20 years and really seeing where we're going to be in that time. So I just appreciate y'all, man. Like I said, man, this is something that I love doing. This is something that it's an honor to do and to be a part of. And I just want to send a big shout out to all the brothers and sisters of New Era Nation, New Era World, man, because I'm nothing without them. I always tell people, sometimes I go to these cities and people don't even know who I am. Like, they don't know that I'm the founder or anything. And I like it. I like it like that. And also, even when people do know who I am, they always say New Era. You New Era, right? And to me, that's an honor, man, in the era to where everybody gotta have their name plastered across everything, and and it's always about like a single person. It's truly about the movement. And that's how, that's something I hang my hat on. It's not about Zeek. It's never been about Zeek. It's always about the people, and the great kings and queens who helping this thing go around, all around the country. So.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I mean, we're going to have to wrap up soon, unfortunately, but I do, and thank you for that. I mean, I don't even know what to say. That was, you did so much, just in terms of the work you're doing, and it really gives me, what is it? We watched together, Tandem Ed watched, Judas and the Messiah, and I just think about that end scene, where Fred Hampton is sort of like, are y'all gonna take this money and go build this medical facility? Like, don't use it for me to help me get me free. Like, no, this has got to go to the movement. So just think of the ways in which, putting the movement first and not sort of like focusing too much on the individual is so important, and how much, that combats some of the kind of like, American idea of individualism. Is we're seeing so much more and more how toxic, right? And we could really get to politics in terms of how toxic American individualism can be. But you said so much. But I really would love to end and just pivot to Brian a little bit to talk about, it is Black Philanthropy Month. This episode won't air probably till October, but it is the end of August, and would love to have Brian just talk a little bit about the importance of what Tandem Ed does in terms of, connecting institutions to community organizations doing the work like New Era, who, are not necessarily, legible or the traditional organizations that they would look to sort of support. So Brian, could you say a little bit about that before we close out?
Sure. I think that, the work that Zeek is doing in New Era, let me say New Era, that New Era is doing, when we started to try to communicate a vision of Tandem Ed, and particularly what we meant by foundations and nonprofits being responsive to community. I wish at that time that we were talking about that so much, we could point to New Era. We could point to an organization, a group that, as Zeek said, is not the grassroots, but at the mud root, right? Because that's where the resources got to go. That's where the people are. That's where the leadership is. That's where the pulse of the community is. And so when we talk about connecting institutions and community, we're talking about the community that Zeek has just laid out. And so, but one thing I'll say, I won't go too in depth in this, but what I will say is that, that's a short-term vision. The long-term vision is that we are self-sustaining and self-sufficient, and we're not having to ask anybody for anything. So we're in a transition period. We got to move strategic, and we got to make the first steps. But, we also are strategic enough to know that, how you start is not necessarily how you finish, but we got to get there. So much appreciation again, and much love.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. And so, as always, tap in with Tandem Ed Network at tandemed.com on IG and Twitter. Also follow #BlackTerms, #OwnYourStory. And until next time, live, learn, and lead on Black Terms.